Hello everybody, welcome back to the Horror Vault. As we all know, it's coming towards Halloween, and with Halloween you should expect to watch a lot of horrors. And this year I'm going to do the 31 Nights of Horror challenge, which is basically you watch at least one horror film every night, which, to be fair, I usually do anyway, because I'm usually reviewing stuff and like that for the site, which is linked down below to check out if you want to come to the website. And but this year, because I didn't do it last year, I went through my collection, which is all the way along there, and then it's over there somewhere, and over there somewhere in various bookcases. And I've handpicked out 31 titles. I'll only show you 30 because one, I already know why it's going to be, and I believe someone's burrowing it at the moment, but it will come back to me before Halloween for sure. So I'm going to show you the 30 titles, and I'll tell you what the 31st title is as well. And these are in no particular order. I won't watch these on the 1st to the 31st. The only one that I'll watch on the 31st will be the 31st title I tell you. But all the rest of them are just going to be random. I'll just pick out the pile as I go, and we'll just go from there. So we'll go straight from the top of the pile, and the first film on the pile is Psycho, which I can't see would need much introduction to any horror fans or any film fans. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, well, you can watch it if you want, but I don't think it's fantastic. It's the remake of this. No, not good. Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. I think that's who it was. No, doesn't work. But this is a classic in its own right and deserves the praise that it gets. So that's the first choice. The second choice will be, I believe this is the fourth film in the series. It's Amityville, The Evil Escapes. So I believe this is Amityville 4. And this is the one that I used to see a lot on telly. There was this one, obviously the first one, and Amityville 1992, New Generation, which is the one with a clock that entwines with the building itself, and stuff happens. That's quite a good sequel. Obviously, Amityville, it has a lot of sequels, usually just in name only because it's the place and they can do that. Some of the sequels are a bit naff. This, I think, is one of the better ones. This is the one where they get a lamp coming through the post, and they open it up, put it in the house, think nothing of it, and then mysterious circumstances start to happen around the house, and they soon find out that the lamp is possessed. It's an evil lamp. But that's kind of how the sequel started to go anyway. It was basically a thing from the original Amityville house would go off somewhere else, and the evil would spread. This teaspoon from the kitchen is possessed, and now it's doing stuff around the house. That wasn't one, but that's the same stuff. That's kind of how ludicrous it got. And then there's later sequels which have Eric Robertson, but I'm hoping that the new ones will go back and be a bit more entertaining, a bit more kind of like these ones, a bit more entertaining than as opposed to the later ones, Playhouse, Death House, stuff like that. So that's the second choice this month. Next one is a one based on the Graham Masterson book, The Manitui, which is, coincidentally, called The Manitui. Now, if you've read the book and you've seen the film, you would laugh quite a lot at the film. Personally, I've read the book and I've read the sequel, and I like this film. It has its moments, it has unique moments. It stars, who is it? Oh yeah, Susan Strasberg as the patient that has the I think it's a Navajo Indian, or might say on the back somewhere, but I'm sure it's a Navajo Indian lump comes up on her back, and it ends up turning out it's a 400-year-old Native American demon that's coming back through her. And then Tony Curtis, who sports a rather fetching moustache in this. It's a fake moustache, but it's a rather fetching moustache. He plays a psychic, or a somewhat psychic, who gets pulled in to help her and get in touch with the demon and hopefully cure her of it towards the end, of battle it. And it ends up with this weird space scene in the hospital and whatever. It's a very weird ending to the film. It kind of goes with what goes on in the book, but it's a weird ending. But that's my third film for this month. Coming October. Fourth film is one of my favourite slasher films of the 80s, outside of the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. There's standard stuff that people would like. But this one it's known as Aerobicide, which I think is a really cool title. I actually like that title. But this is the other title, and it's known as Killer Workout. And this has a woman who should have gotten far much more work than she actually ended up getting. It was Teresa Vanderwood, who you can see just there. Now, she should have got more work than what she got. If you look up on her IMDb, she hasn't got a lot of credit to her name. I don't know what happened to her afterwards if she finished doing films, but there you go. This is basically as a serial killer going around in a gym, and people getting killed off. Pretty people are getting killed off, but it's not so much entertaining just for the slashery elements of it. It's quite entertaining for the 80s fashion and the brilliant aerobic sequences you get to experience on for a very long time. And it's directed by David Pryor. Yeah, David Pryor. So if you've seen any of his films, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to expect. But that's the next one. Fifth film is a somewhat recent purchase. Those who have seen the 88 films Italian collection videos I did, see it's in part 1 or part 2 of this, but it's Zombie Creeping Flesh, which is also known as Virus. And you can see it in the video, but it's got the a different cover for basically the whole thing, and this is done by Bruno Matti, who did Rat's Night of Terror, and it's just another typical 1980s Italian zombie flick with a kind of I'm not sure if it actually is. It might be, but the music is music is done by Goblin. I was going to say the music sounds very Goblinish, but music is done by Goblin, who most people would know is well known for doing music to Dario Argento films. So the first zombie flick. Actually, I don't think there's many zombie flicks in here that I picked out for my 31 Nights of Horror. Next up is the sequel to one of the biggest horror franchises out there, which it has its fans. I quite like it. They try to do something different and take it away from the base that it would be in, and it is Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, pretty self-explanatory. Jason ends up going to Manhattan, but just look up Friday the 13th, find a trailer to it, and find Friday the 13th Jason Takes Manhattan, watch a trailer to it, and there's some great moments in it, like the moment where he's walking down through Times Square, and there's some punks sat there, and they listen to music, and Jason Voorhees just walks, dead line straight towards them, boots the the stereo that listen to their punk music on. They all get irate, flip a knife out on him, and you can't see it, but he's got his back's to the camera, and Jason Voorhees just lifts up his mask, and you can tell that what they can see, and they just go, "Whoa, it's okay," and they all run off. And it's just a funny moment. I quite like it, but it's its own little film. Everybody's got their own favourite Friday the 13th film, or the worst Friday the 13th film. This is actually one of my top favourite ones, but each to their own. Next up is we are heading into the 2000s, and it is Insidious, which, you know, it's pretty good. It's one of the better films that's come out in recent years, as in like Hollywood mainstream blockbuster type stuff. And it's directed by James Wan, who obviously does things like Saw and The Conjuring stuff, and stars Patrick Wilson, who coincidentally is also in The Conjuring. And I think there's a fourth one of this coming out soon. When this video is out, anyway, it would be a fourth film. So I was going to put one of the other sequels on, the 2 or the 3, but I decided I was going to watch the first one again because it's been a long time since I watched the first film. But I won't give so much introduction. Most people would have seen this, I would have thought. But Insidious is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th choice of films. Next up is yet again a franchise of films, and it is the film that, no matter how old you are, how many times you've seen the film, it's one of those films that kind of sticks in your mind. You watch it at night time, and then you have to go to the bathroom before you go to bed, and there's a mirror behind you, and you can't help but just keep thinking, Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. This is great. This is one of those films which I would be quite happily then continue doing sequels to. I would love to have seen Candyman out in the snow doing something, because I think that would have worked really well with his coat and everything else. But it stars Virginia Madsen. Basically, it's the story is a bit like Bloody Mary. You say his name 3 times in the mirror, he comes back, and, well, I think it's pretty self-explanatory what he ends up then doing. But Tony Todd's best film, possibly. Each to their own on what it is, but I believe this to be his best film, and it has a cracking score to it as well, which I really enjoy. But based on Clive Barker stuff. Next up is a Full Moon film. I believe it to be. Yeah, it's Full Moon. So most people would know Full Moon for things like Puppet Master, or I don't know, Evil Bomb, Ginger Dead Man, stuff like that. But before all of them, there was Tourist Trap, which is pretty much House of Wax in the back outskirts of America, where there's a man running a wax museum, and some kids go there to go look at it, and, well, I say kids, they're 18 plus, go there, and they end up finding out that the mannequins might not quite be what they think they are. But this is another one of those really weird beginning entrance films that you watch and you're not entirely quite sure what's going on. And then that how many times you watch it, you still see little tiddly little bits throughout the film that might freak you out a little bit. But this is surprisingly not directed by Charles Band. This was directed by David Schmuller. And I actually think he did a really good job. I actually really liked them. So that's my next choice of films. Unsurprisingly, I had to put one of these on the pile. Now I had a choice of George A. Romero films, what I could put on there. Had a look through all the ones that I have of his. Was gonna put The Crazies, umdanad about it, and then I decided go with Tried and Tested, the one that I go back to quite a lot, which is Dawn of the Dead, which again needs no introduction, but this is a really good box set. It came out from was it Anchor Bay? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Anchor Bay. And loads of extras on it, different cuts of the movie on it, and even has a little comic book in there as well, which is a good little read, but doesn't need any introduction. This is obviously the 70s Dawn of the Dead, not the new ordered, which actually wasn't that bad. I quite enjoyed it. It's one of the better remakes of films that have come out. Less said of Psycho 1, the better. Next up is another film that used to appear on telly a hell of a lot, but I don't recall it being on telly anytime recently. And this one stars Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, two main staples of Hammer films, and Telly Savalas, who, most people would probably know him for playing Blofeld in is it On Majesty's Secret Service? I believe he played it in, and various other things. But it says that Horror Express. I can't remember what other title it's known under, but this is where they find like a body frozen and they try to track it bring it back on a train. It starts to defrost, and then the creature starts doing stuff on the train. It's actually really good. I'm surprised it hasn't had a lavish, fancy release of any sort, but it's really good. I enjoy this. So that. Next up, we're still in around about that wasn't a Hammer film, but we are now back in Hammer horror territory, or Hammer films territory. We are with Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde, which stars Ralph Bates and Martin Beswick, who I've had the privilege of meeting Martin Beswick, and she's really nice. I mean, if you ever go to a convention or something like that, she's there. I would go and speak to her. She's very genuine and quite happy to answer any questions you have. And the gist of it is the Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde story, but this time it's Dr. Jekyll makes a potion, he drinks it, and he turns into a woman, and he becomes the Sister Hyde. And I always think they made the perfect casting choice for these two when they made the film. So you got Ralph Bates on that side, and you got Martin Beswick on this side. And I always thought that was the perfect casting choices for those two. They worked perfectly. This film has its admirers. It has more more people that hate it than like it. I quite like it, and I think, the screenplay is by Brian Clemens, who most people would know for loads of stuff, far too much stuff to mention, but I'll quick off in mind is the Thriller TV series from the 70s. So there's that. The next one is a film that doesn't get a lot of mention. In fact, I've very rarely spoken to anybody that's actually seen this film, which is surprising because it's had quite a lot of it's had some good press, and it is Yellow Brick Road. Now, I'll basically read the back of it. The entire population of Friar, New Hampshire walked together up a winding mountain trail and endured, never to be seen alive again. The only clue as to where they went was a single word etched in the stone near the forest's edge, Yellow Brick Road. A search party eventually discovered the remains of nearly 300 people. Many had frozen to death, others were cruelly and mysteriously slaughtered, and most were never found. Their fates have remained a mystery for over 70 years, until 2009, when the coordinates for the trail were declassified and team researchers attempted to track the path of the doomed citizens. People would probably imagine this would be based on the story of Roanoke, which I'm pretty sure that's kind of what it's based on. And as the thing that sticks to me about this film is a song that plays on an LP, and it keeps constantly playing through the whole film. I think you might see the record playing a couple of scenes, but the record's playing the whole way through when they start going down the trail and into the forest. So you got, what's this, an hour 36? You've got about an hour and a half of this same track that plays through. But as it goes through and you can see the characters becoming more involved in what's going on, they start to lose their mind a little. So this could be the possibility of what happened to the original people that went hunting down this trail. But Yellow Brick Road, definitely worth watching, and there is no munchkins in this, I'm afraid, and no singing and dancing. So if you want that, you need to go watch something else, mainly Wizard of Oz. I should leave it there for me, because that's part one. This will be a two-parter because there are so many films in this pile. As always, if you've subscribed, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up because that helps as well. If you've got any comments down below, like what do you think of the choices so far that you've seen? Is there any there that you've seen that you do like, any that you don't like, any you would have chose differently? Say, for instance, Insidious, would you have chosen the first one, the second one, the third one? Obviously, I chose the first one, but what would you have chosen? And yeah, as always, just leave any comments or questions down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next video. Bye for now.